My name.
I'm so proud to be Haitian because just everything about being Haitian is just awesome.
Everyone know about the history of Haiti, first Black independent country in 1804.
Understanding the history of Haiti, Haitian people, you can't help but be proud of the accomplishment that have happened.
Haitian Americans have done really well in the past few years. There's still a lot more work to be done. Only about 20% of us actually have a bachelor's degree.
I understand firsthand some of the challenges that Haitian American students, graduates, and professionals have faced.
Some of them have overcome incredible adversity.
Both immigrated or asylum seekers or refugees.
There are not that many Haitian-focused scholarships, but like any other award, the NAAHP Leadership Award is providing recognition for one's hard work.
As we know, college is expensive, so this scholarship fund provides the chance for a brighter future.
It felt like the universe was speaking, like I needed the money. I was intrigued. People were telling me to apply.
Going to college or graduate school can be very, very expensive. So donating to a scholarship like this would help that expense be more manageable.
Future generation of leaders, scholars, entrepreneurs,
young adults that are trying to make something of their lives.
They are rock stars. They just need the help, and they need us to help them accomplish it.
There's like this Haitian proverb that says, "Meilleur pied chapalu," many hands make the load lighter.
Log in and you can donate $10, $25, $50.
It makes me think of the Malcolm X quote that education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. It makes me happy to know that our organization is contributing to that goal, preparing others for the future.
Greetings, good morning. This is Dr. Ketsia Alert Sadler with College Cafe, and I come to you on behalf of the National Alliance for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals. You are joining us for our college planning with the NAAHP workshop series. During these few months, we started out talking about the college appeal letter, and then we talked about summer plans. This month, our focus is on financial literacy. We have two speakers that you'll be hearing from, Ms. Fran Correa, who's the founder and CEO of Vision Strategic Consulting, and Mr. David Carlor, who's the financial advisor with Northwestern Mutual. Get your pens and paper ready so you can learn and get great information to help your students with college planning, you with retirement, and just basics on savings and financial literacy. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Non, moi c'est Dr. Ketsia Alert Sadler. Moi c'est fondatrice de College Café, et on behalf de National Alliance pour l'avancement de professionnels qui haïtiens, nous venons devant vous pour programme nous de college planning. Nous avons commencé avec appeal letter mois d'avril. Mois passé, nous avons parlé de programme pour été pour Timounou. Et moi, ça n'a parlé de finance nous. So, préparez-vous un papier avec un crayon pour prendre note, parce que nous avons deux personnes qui parlent avec nous de qui genre pour nous planifier pour collège, pour nous finir travail pour retirement, et basic de pour comment pour nous manager l'argent. OK, nous souhaitons une bonne journée et merci pour l'attention. Passez une bonne journée. Hello, good evening. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. My name is Dr. Ketsia Alert Sadler, and I'm the founder of College Cafe, where we help families learn the information to make the college of your child's choice affordable. Non, moi c'est Dr. Ketsia Alert Sadler, et moi c'est fondatrice de College Cafe, un programme où que nous aidons des familles avec timoun yo comprendre tout que nous besoin connaître pour le timoun pour le collège, pour lui pas besoin payer un paquet l'argent. Famille moi, nous là, College Cafe là pour aider nous, pour nous connaître que nous pas besoin pour un Parent Plus loan, nous pas besoin à payer un paquet l'argent pour étudier timoun yo pour yo joindre bachelor degree. So again, bonsoir. Tonight we have with us, I'm very excited to have Ms. Frances Correa, who is the founder and CEO of Vision Strategic Counseling. Assoya nous gen avec nous Madame Frances Correa, la fondatrice et CEO de Vision Strategic Counseling. She has her BA from Tufts University and her MBA from Howard Business School. BA de Tufts University.
Harvard.
And MBA de her MBA is from Harvard Business School, not Howard, I'm sorry. MBA de Harvard Business School. She is dedicated to diversity and inclusion, and she has a program called Pennies to Prosperity, which we're going to be talking about tonight. Li gen un programme qui relève Pennies to Prosperity, et assoya c'est ça que n'a parlé. And she is aimed primarily at empowering underserved youth via financial literacy. So programme nan c'est pour aider ti moun pour comprendre qui jan pour nous faire ça que nous devons faire avec tout l'argent nous. Okay, so Frances and I met about maybe 3-4 years ago during a workshop that I did for College Cafe at a tutoring program where her 2 sons were attending. So we've had this relationship on, and so I'm thankful tonight to have her here. And before we get going, actually, I want to thank the National Association for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals, National Alliance, for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals for giving me this platform to be able to share my information and bring other people who have expertise in different areas in the whole college process. Merci, National Alliance for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals, pour opportunité que nous avons pour capable partager information de procédure de collège là avec nous et moi capable venir avec l'autre monde pour parler avec nous as well. And our other partners are Chocarella and Book It Right Accountancy. Thank you so much. Nous voulons dire merci avec Book It Right Accountancy et Chocarella et College Cafe pour aider nous dans programme ça. So as I was saying, we're back to Miss Fran Correa. Excited to have her here tonight. And so Frances, let me start by asking you, what was your intended major in college? Did you intend to do this type of program? What did you intend to study?
First off, thank you so much, Ketsia, and also thank you so much, National Alliance for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals. This is a great organization, and I'm really happy to be part of the program today. So Ketsia, when I was a student at Tufts, I was focused on being pre-med. I was pre-med, finished all of my pre-med requirements, and then decided to major in international relations and Spanish. I am Hispanic, and so it was just a wonderful extension to be able to have a Spanish major as well. So I completed my studies with a BA in international relations and Spanish, and decided to go into business. So that's what I did following college.
Okay, so then let's segue. How do you go from business, and then tell us how you got into Pennies for Prosperity. What are you doing in your daily life, in your career? What are you doing now?
Oh, thank you. So my right before what I'm doing now, I worked for Morgan Stanley. I was focused in helping financial advisors establish sustainable practices. So to help clients with attracting clients, growing clients, negotiating with clients, closing clients, and retaining clients. So from there, I became licensed myself, and can help could help folks with their investments. I have become very, very interested from my own background, very interested in helping underserved youth. And so I developed this presentation called Pennies to Prosperity, and I presented throughout the United States as well as Kenya. I have a very strong presence there to help the youth there and the women become empowered.
Okay, well, we are thankful that you're here today to share with us about Pennies to Prosperity. So if we're talking about Pennies to Prosperity, I would guess your first topic, you're talking about saving probably. So what can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. Saving is the base of, that's where you have to start, right? Save. So my favorite poet is Maya Angelou, and one of her yes, and one of her sayings and her quotes is, "When you know better, you do better." And that's what financial literacy is all about. Is us getting to know more about wealth and wealth building. And notice, please, I did not say getting rich. I said getting wealthy. Rich is when you win the lotto and you have all this money and you're spending it on a lot of depreciating assets. Wealth is when you have a very strategic perspective and a long-term perspective on maintaining and growing your money. So really having that wealth mindset is what I really, really focus on. So really the main thing with saving is to pay yourself first. That's very, very important. I have two boys, as you know, Ketsia, one's 19, one's 20. And one of the things that I tell them is to save at least 30 to 40% of their salaries. So if you're coming home with $100, you're going to put $30 in the bank. So starting early is the other thing that is extremely important. Starting early as you can. If you have a child that's 9, 10, 11, start early. But certainly if you're in your 20s and 30s and you haven't started saving, start now, right? I always enjoyed with my children having a clear jar so that they could see their money growing and their savings growing. So that I also even say for adults, you've got an extra dollar, two pennies, dimes, whatever it is, put it in the jar. And you have to use patience. You have to have that vision and that patience in setting your goals for the future. So I typically, when I work with youth, I say to them, if you've got a vision to purchase a car in 2 years, and it's going to be a used car, so let's say it's going to be $2,000, then work backwards. And that's with you want to buy a house, you want to go to college, whatever your main goal is of a large purchase, then work backwards. So that would mean, $2,000 in 2 years, which is 24 months, which turns out to be $83.33 per month. So that's very important. So saving, pay yourself first.
Okay, so thank you. So that was a mouthful. I'm gonna say it in Creole for all our folks out there who, for English is not the best language. And forgive me, I grew up in this country, so if my Creole sounds a little, I love you all anyway. Haiti's my heart. So, sa Francis dit, se gen yon diferans entre moun ki riche et fò nou genyen et lò ou genyen yon paquet l'argent. So, ça veut dire que on bagay qui est important, c'est pour payer self premièrement. Ça veut dire que le chèque ou vini, faut faire faut faire en sorte que vous mettez à part même 30%. So, si vous faites $100, faut prendre $30 pour mettre dans savings account. Et avec Timounou, Francis, il y a 2 garçons, il y a 19 ans, l'autre il y a 20 ans. Commencez avec Timounou bien bonheur, l'œil jeune, si vous avez un jar, un bagage qui clair, pour leur mettre $, ou bien comme la donne, ou l'argent à monter. Et puis, il faut avoir patience parce que l'argent pas monter vite. Et faut nous gagner un but, faut nous besoin goals. So, li bay un exemple que si vous besoin acheter une machine qui coûtait $2,000 et puis vous dit que vous buy 2 ans pour gagner compte l'argent pour lui. So, si vous prenez $2,000 divisé ça en 24 mois, ça va $83 avec 30 centimes par mois pour mettre à part pour machine. Okay, thank you, Francis.
Wow, I wish I could do that. That's
Look,
great.
I'm working. The head is working.
That's great. Well, I'll give you shorter answers. So
no problem. I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes. You're good.
That's great.
You're good.
So I did want to say a little bit more about the fact that things cost money, right? So shopping, even during the pandemic, has gone up. People have been shopping more throughout the pandemic. As a matter of fact, people are shopping 20% more during the time that they were home.
Yeah, so ça, Francis dit, c'est pendant pandémie, tout bagay coûte l'argent. Et puis, même quand nous tout l'été la caille, nous pendant pandémie, nous tap dépenser plus l'argent, au moins 20% plus nous dépenser, même quand nous t'es la caille nous. Yep.
All right.
And so, what about impulse buying, and which is the enemy of wealth? What can you say about that to people who just in the store just see something?
So impulse buying is just it's just the enemy of wealth building. When you're impulse buying, you're at a store. It says buy one get one free, 50% off, clearance, bargain, going out of business sale. All of those things are very, very tempting. And since they're so tempting, that's when you have to really pull back. And I'll give you a framework.
So, Francis a parlé de bagay ki, le wal nan store wè bagay, achete yon, lot la gratis, achete yon, lot la à 50%. So, le nou wè bagay so, se bagay ki pa bon, paske yo pa ede nou, yo pa kite ke nou kapab mette l'argent nou a pa pou nou save l'argent nou. Okay, next point, Miss Francis.
Okay, so what I it's very, very important that that you go through appreciating. Actually, if you want to talk about let's continue to talk about implying. So the thing is that when we're talking about impulse purchases, we want to talk about them with a framework. And the framework is you've got to go into the store saying to yourself, can I afford this? That's the first question, right? Can I afford this? Is it in my budget? If I can, then I've got to think about, do I have something like this at home? So if I'm looking at a red sweater and I have a red sweater at home, why do I need this? Why should I buy this? That's an impulse, right? And if I can't afford it, then there's no issue. Just leave the store. Don't shop. We all go through that where we have a budget, a clothing budget, we have a grooming budget, and we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk about budgeting. But make those decisions in the store.
Okay, so gen bay fò nou fè lè nou nan magasin, nou ka bwe on corsage rouge qui bien belle, mais faut penser est-ce que bien un corsage rouge là kay la déjà. So c'est un bagay que ou vle, mais c'est pas un bagay que ou besoin. Donc faut nous faire décision ça yo lè nous devant bagay pour nous dire est-ce que besoin ou est-ce que c'est un bagay que moins vle pour nous capable économiser l'argent. Okay. Next point.
So I did want to talk about when we talk about assets, I did want to turn to the topic of appreciating assets and depreciating assets. We're going to first talk about appreciating assets.
Okay, so la parlé de le nou gen bagay ka le valeur yo ap monter. Soit c'est bagay que nous investi et puis au lieu de bagay que valeur a descend. Okay. Next.
So appreciating assets include things like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, real estate, business ownership, precious metals, your savings and collections.
Okay, so bagay ki que valeur yo ap monte, c'est le nou achete stock, mutual fund, moun ki gen 403b bay kon sa, real estate, le ou achete un car ou bien ou achete un building que moun ap loué, un business kap loué de ou même, ou bien si ou gen un business ou même, bagay sa yo gen valeur kap monte. Okay.
And when we talk about depreciating assets on the other side, we're talking about consumer goods. We're talking about cars, entertainment equipment, clothing, shoes, accessories, restaurant meals. Those are all depreciating assets.
Ok, bagay ke valeur yo ap deson, se machine nou, rad, soulier, manger. Bagay yo, yo pa gen valeur. Nou konen ke depi nou achete yon machine, depi ke ou kite la avek li, valeur machine nan deson. Okay.
So really recapping, when we have an appreciating asset like savings and you get interest, it compounds because you're getting you get interest, and then the next time you get interest on that interest. So you continue to climb in that savings and in that annual return. When you have depreciation, you have a car, for instance. As soon as you drive out of the lot, that car loses 30% of its value. But by the end, every year, as you put more mileage on it and wear and tear, it loses its value.
So, le nan pale de bagay yo ki valeur ap monte, ça veut dire que intérêt ap monte. So, chaque année, intérêt ap monte nan bagay sa yo que la pale de stock yo bagay kon sa. Mais en machine, c'est un bagay que valeur ap descend. So, ça veut dire que, comme te dit avant, le machine nan kite la, valeur a gen te descend 30%. Et puis, le plus wap roule machine nan, le plus machine nan gen problème, valeur ap descend.
So let's talk about the concept of opportunity cost. So opportunity cost is what a person sacrifices when they choose one option over another. And so we will always have that opportunity cost choice. For instance, right now, you're here with us. So you could be doing any other item. You could be outside walking, you could be doing a sport, you could be reading a book, you could be watching a movie, but instead you're here really gaining knowledge about your finances and focused on your wealth building. So with opportunity cost, there's always a trade-off, and we're going to talk about an example.
Okay, so là on a parlé de qui genre opportunité coûtée, ça veut dire qu'on va faire un sacrifice. So, là, on fait un sacrifice ou fait un choix. Donc, nous-mêmes qui ici à Soya, nous avons Mademoiselle Derly, nous avons Mademoiselle Stephanie, thank you for coming, merci que nous là. Nous avons l'autre côté, nous avons de marcher ou bien l'autre côté, mais nous faisons un sacrifice pour nous là, pour nous apprendre information, pour bailler l'argent nous plus valeur.
So, when we look at opportunity cost, for instance, let's say 1 hour of work, you can yield $20. Well, this person decides to not go to work, and instead they're going to go to a party that costs $10 to go to. So the opportunity cost of that 1 hour of not working costs that person $30.
So, par exemple, si on moun fait on a 1 heure de travail ou fait $20. Mais on dit, m'pas pas le travail, m'pral nan on bal pito qui coûtait $10. Kounya coûte li coûte $30 pour choix que li fait, que li pas le travail, mais li al non bal pito. Okay.
So let's, Ketsia, go over to the thought of a bank account. Because that's also very important that we all establish bank accounts as the younger the better, so that you can save, you can see your savings grow, you can easily access it on your mobile phone, you can make transfers, you can make purchases that you need to, you can constantly reconcile and track your spending and avoid overspending as you establish a bank account and really get into that discipline.
Okay, li très important pour chaque monde gagne un account dans yon banque. Parce que, et puis, avec ti moun yo, le plus bonheur, nous commençons avec yo, plus chance nous gagne pour nous kaboué l'argent nous économiser, et puis nous kaboué un budget pour nous ouais qui bon n'a dépenser tout l'argent nous.
And we also want to talk about establishing credit. because you want to establish credit, of course, as early as possible. So, for instance, one of the things I did with my children is at the age of 18, we established for each of them a secured credit card. And that's putting the same amount, just kind of like a phone card, putting, let's say, $500 into a savings account. So the credit card has a $500 limit, and it's always secured. And that enables them to purchase a bubble tea, let's say, or a coffee, and then pay back and show a pattern of responsibility and a pattern of paying back their debt.
Ok, so ça, Mademoiselle Frances dit que avec Timouni, li important pour nous establisher crédit nous à un l'âge qui bien bonheur. Avec Timouni qui gagne 18 ans, le gagne 18 ans, yo ba yo un secured credit card. Avec ça, c'est aussi yo mette $500 sous carte là, et puis le Timouna aller dans bubble tea li acheter un bagay, Timouna avec ti job li gagne, li paye back l'argent ça.
So that leads us, once we have credit, right, it leads us to debt. Because credit, in many cases, creates debt. And managing debt is incredibly important because banks and lenders and stores and so on, doctors' offices, wherever you incur debt, they want to be paid, and they will want to be paid on time.
So, lor yon carte de crédit, yo pa utiliser li, faut payer dette ça. So, même si yo a utiliser carte la kay docteur ou n'importe côté ou aller, faut payer l'argent ça back by moun nan. So, li important parce que lor gen crédit a, wap gen dette too. Okay.
And debt can really become a burden. If you, I want you to remember that if you do not manage debt, it will manage you.
Faut nous songer que si nous pas gen contrôle de ça que nous dwe a gen contrôle de nous.
You want to make sure that that you are most importantly, in order to manage debt, you have to think about budgeting. So what is budgeting? We're going to talk about that.
Ok, donc en sorte que ou pour nous comprendre dette, faut nous comprendre qui jan pour nous gagner un budget. So on a parlé de qui jan nous besoin li important pour nous gagner un budget.
So budgeting is really establishing a monthly budget, and that includes what did we say initially? Paying yourself first. That is a bill. You are a bill. There is the Fran bill, the Ketsia bill. You have to consider yourself something you need to pay every month. So savings is critical. Include in your budget your cell phone bill, transportation, food, entertainment, clothing, grooming, the gym, all of those things that you need to budget for.
So when we talk, là nous parler d'un budget, l'argent entrée le nous toucher chèque nous. Premièrement, nous te parlé avant, faut bailler tête ou l'argent. So prendre l'argent pour économiser. Et puis chaque bill pour mettre la donne. Transportation, si vous prenez bus ou bien si vous besoin mettre gaz dans machine, si vous besoin acheter Easy Pass ou bien NJ Transit Card, mettez l'argent ça tout. Et puis si vous aimez aller dans gym, si vous besoin faire exercice, tout ça que ou dépenser, tout ça doit dans budget. And Fred, I want to say my older son is the budget guru. He says that every dollar that comes into his household, into his bank account, has a job. He does not spend at any time anything that is not in that budget. He has, for instance, everything is accounted for. Ça me dit que puis gaga somewhere, li dit que chaque dollar qui entre la caille li, il y a un travail que li fait. Tout li pas dépenser rien si l'entre dans un store, li pas acheter ça qui pas dans budget, li pas dépenser ça qui pas dans budget li. So
I love your son. That is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so ultimately, you want to make sure that you have contentment, right? You wanna balance your income with your expenses so that you can have a good life.
Faut nous gen yon balance entre contentement avec travail nou. Faut nous faire en sorte que tout bagay yo balance nou pa gen plus contentement avec moins travail. Faut bagay yo égal.
And so I want to conclude with the secret sauce, right? On how to get wealthy. And it does not change for anyone, whether you are Warren Buffett or you're getting started. It doesn't change for anyone. And I'll share that with you now.
So, Francis a parlé de sauce secret li, et ça, même si ou Warren Buffett qui a gen l'argent, monsieur gen un paquet l'argent, ou un petit monde qui pipiti, secret ça a aidé ou pour apprendre qui gens pour économiser l'argent.
So the first thing is you need to start early. And if you have not started early, start now. And what you need to start now doing is once you earn, you're going to manage your saving and your spending so that you're saving a good amount and you're controlling your spending. Little by little, you're going to be investing that, right? And with a time horizon, that will grow. Whether you're purchasing appreciating items, so like stocks and collectibles or gold and silver, anything that's appreciating, and so that will yield long-term wealth.
So, premier bagay, en tant que l'on t'a parlé de bagay qui gen valeur, c'est pour commencer kounye ya. Si ou pas commencer lors t'es jeune, commencer kounya. Premier bagay pour nous faire, nous commencer économiser, et puis pour nous faire plus économiser, moins dépenses. Et puis, pendant que l'argent que nous avons économisé a monté, nous avons fait investissement. So, nous avons acheté caille, nous avons acheté building, ou bien nous avons acheté l'or avec l'argent. Okay?
So, start early, spend less than you earn, and invest well.
Okay? So, nous avons commencé bonheur, nous avons dépensé moins que nous fait, et puis nous avons investi pour nous gagner bagay qui gagne plus valeur.
And that's I'll take questions.
Okay, est-ce que quelqu'un qui gagne question?
Okay. I do see a question. How young can you open a secured credit card for one's child? Is that the only type of credit card option you suggest? Okay. So I'm going to answer that in two ways. Okay. If you would like your child could have they could be a user of your credit card as early as 10 years old, 11 years old, whatever you'd like. However, if you're going to do that, you have to make sure that they are paying the bill. It is not a good measure or a good practice to give a child a credit card and then you pay the bill, because that's really not teaching them how to save, and it doesn't teach them to control their spending, and it doesn't build their credit. I'll start there.
So, question c'est que qui a été credit card pour ti moun yo? Ou capable bay ti moun yo unsecured credit card, ou bien ou même si ou gen credit card pa ou, ti moun nan capable gen un card sous account pa ou. Mais faut songer que si ti moun ap dépenser, faut ti moun nan paye bill la aussi, parce que li pa apprendre rien si ti moun ap dépenser et puis ti moun nan pa paye.
Okay, so the second part of that is the secured credit card. That's one way for the child to get a credit card, but really from a secured credit card perspective, I believe the age is 18, because it's really in their name and it's their account. And is that the only credit card type I recommend? At that age, they don't really have a credit history unless they've been working. Maybe the child has been working since they were maybe 15, 16, and they have some work history, and then they would be able to get their own credit card. But the secured credit card is just a really safe way for them to build credit for adulthood.
So, the secured credit card, c'est yon façon pour ti moun qui gen moins de 18 ans, et puis si ti moun pa gen on credit history, li pou gen ça. Si ti moun tap travail depuis li gen l'âge de 14 ou 15 ans, li capable gagner on job ou bien credit history. So ça bon façon as well. But Francis, can you, when we're talking about the credit cards, excuse me, what about these kids who go to college and have a work study job and end up getting a credit card? Can you speak on that?
Yeah, sure. My kids have received many, now that they're both in college, they've received many, I won't name the companies, but they've received many invitations to get credit cards. They're at higher interest rates. So a young adult that doesn't have the discipline of and the cadence of a credit card, gets a credit card, is really excited about a credit card, goes out for pizza and with their friends every night, uses that credit card, again, goes out for coffees and so on, and then gets delayed on a payment, or doesn't pay the full amount, or pays the minimum amount every month. Well, then they're getting 25% interest charged on that money. So they will really end up paying a whole lot more and risk really ruining their credit because of late payments.
So pour nous qui avec nous assoya, si nous gen ti moun nan collège, li pa bon ti pou ti moun yo prend carte yo de compagnie yo k'ap vini bay ti moun yo application, ben yo vini nan mail la, nan la poste, parce que intérêt gen li plus que un secured credit card. Intérêt ka même 25%. So ti moun ale, en soirée l'école là, li achete un pizza avec zami li, mais mois prochain le bill la vini, li paye minimum nan seulement au lieu pour li ka paye toute balance là. So ça ka fait que la paye plus, la gain plus intérêt ka monter, et puis c'est plus l'argent que faut le payer à la fin.
What tips would you give for someone who struggles with paying themselves first? I really would set them up, and this is how I help others with, really setting them up so that they really do see themselves as a bill, and then they really are able to enjoy the increase in their account. So whether that means having an app that they can easily look at and they can see how their account is growing, it really becomes very exciting. I also recommend that that you reward yourself. Let's say the goal for the month is to save $1,000 a month or $500, whatever your amount is. Save that amount and then treat yourself, maybe. Treat yourself to something you really like a sushi lunch or whatever that is, right? And then make it rewarding, make it fun. This is fun. This is for your future. So you really want to make it a joy to be able to save money.
So, ça, Madame Francis dit, faut faire que le wap économiser l'argent, faut faire un bagay que wap fon joie la donner. Et puis, premier bagay, faut oué tout en tant qu'un bill. Même genre, faut payer loyer, faut payer mortgage. Moi, le Ketsia, so Ketsia, c'est un bill. So, Daily, c'est un bill pour tête li, Steph is a bill pour tête li. So, faut tout un bill. So, c'est bill ça va payer premièrement. Et puis, faut gagner un but. Si wap économiser $1,000 par mois ou $500 par mois, l'arrivée à $500, ou ka buy on reward, for treat yourself. So, si vous aimez manger sushi, so là ouais que ou arrivé à $500, dit OK, je dis à pour lunch, m'a acheter sushi au lieu que me venir avec manger que manger my leftover de dîner. Like a friend which has helped a lot is when my husband and I have gotten a raise, we've taken that raise and put that away in savings and still try to live on the same amount that we were getting before. So I don't know if you think that's a good way of saving money.
Awesome.
It's helped for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll tell you another phenomenal way to pay yourself. And it doesn't hurt and hurt you at all, and it helps you for the future. 401k. You know what? You take whatever works for you, because depending on your budget, right, how much you need, and take the rest and automatically put it through your company as whatever it is, 5, 10. I think you can go up to 25% of your salary, whatever works, whatever number works for you. Because there are other considerations as well, tax considerations and considerations on match. But take whatever that percentage is, and what you come home with, that's what you're using for your daily living. But you're already saving into your 401k.
So ça, Madame Frances dit que ça me kon fait la moi avec mari moi, là nous toucher, là nous gain en raise, différence là, c'est ça nous mettait dans savings nous, c'est ça nous économiser. So si nous te conveni, si check là te $1,500, qu'on y a $1,700, différence de $200 aller dans banque là. Dans économisation. Ou bien, il dit tout, si vous avez un 401k dans le travail, c'est là que vous mettez différence là. Et puis, vous pouvez parler avec la, HR department, il y a dit qui genre pour faire 401k, et puis vous avez que l'argent a monté, et puis ça a aider pour futur.
So, ways not to touch the money once they've paid themselves. One way, again, is a 401k, because there are penalties if you remove the money. However, if the individual is a first-time home buyer, then they could remove the money without penalty. And that is purchasing an appreciating asset, right? So not so bad. But that again is a great vehicle to force you to leave it there, because there is a penalty.
So si you quoi que vous avez un problème que vous toucher l'argent, leur mettez à part pour économiser, ou faut songer que vous avez 401k parce que si vous mettez l'argent de 401k avant l'heure, il y a un penalty pour payer. So vous avez dépensé l'argent pour ça. L'autre façon pour faire ça, on va pas acheter bagaille qui a bien valeur. Donc, si vous avez l'argent, on va pas acheter un caille parce que valeur caille là a monté. Spécialement pour monde qui achète caille pour la première fois.
And one of the best things about not touching it is that you see that increase of your account, and that should be a joy, right? It's really critical to have a goal. So if you have a goal of whatever that is, purchasing a car, again, purchasing a home, going to school or going back to school, getting an advanced degree, or maybe you're a biker and you want to get a nicer bike, whatever, or a mountain bike or something, or whatever it is that you're saving for, you won't touch the money until you have the right amount, so that so that you can hold on to it.
So, on l'autre bagaille tout, là, n'a pas économiser l'argent, faut nous gagner un but. Donc, si on dit que on va acheter un caille ou bien on va acheter un motocyclette, n'importe ça qui but, là où l'argent a commencé à monter, ça fait, on gagne joie dans le cœur, parce que ouais que l'argent est au niveau, et puis, mois prochain, 3 mois avant, on va gagner l'argent qu'il a. So, faut gagner un but pour ça que vous voulez acheter.
And one of the main things is please live within your means. Don't spend more than you earn.
Et ça qui est plus important tout, faut vivre dans le niveau de ça wap fait. Pas dépenser plus qui entre la caille là et pas essayer de vivre plus que ça au gain. I guess we're talking about keeping up with the Joneses, right? So n'a
Right,
parlé que
right.
ou pas doué à faire ça ça l'autre moun a fait. Ou l'autre moun gen un gros caille qui gen quatre chambres à coucher, mais ou même si c'est seulement un caille, deux chambres à coucher ou capable acheter, c'est ça pour acheter parce que on mortgage sur l'autre caille, la plus ou pas capable Kimberly.
How can one distinguish between something that appreciates and depreciates? Okay. I watch people buy sneakers that appreciate and other items I won't think would appreciate at times. Okay. Okay, so I do have a son who thinks that sneakers appreciate, and it's it's something that he loves. So I definitely understand that. So the thing is, an appreciating asset really is in the list of the items that we talked about before. It really is investing, something that increases in value. If it is like your example, sneakers that you purchase at a great price, and you do think that they're going to increase in value, whatever, in a month, a year, whatever, then that's an item where you'll have a profitable outcome. So sure, if that is something that would work, do it. That is something that would appreciate, depending. But in general, the things that appreciate are, your savings and stock and, mutual funds and really vehicles of financial vehicles and real estate, starting a business, that kinds of thing.
So gen un moun ki di ke yo wè moun ki achete tennis, gen un tennis ke lò achete li nan 2, 3, 5 ans encore, la gen valeur. So ça dépend de ou même. Mais bagay yo ki gen plus valeur, c'est ça on te dit avant yo, stock, acheter kay, mutual fund, commencer un business. So, si vous c'est un monde qui kon fait manger, peut-être wap commencer un business avec ça. Ou bien, n'importe ça que vous gagnez que vous capable faire l'argent de lui, c'est ça pour commencer pour faire un business pour gagner l'argent.
And take a finance course too. I mean, that's always extremely helpful as you're getting started. Use Investopedia, to become familiar with financial terms. Go to financial seminars. Now there are so many vehicles for you to learn about finance and finances, and start a brokerage account. There are lots of firms that have, where you can start a brokerage account. And you can then, put your money there and start to buy stock in something you like, something you think is a strong company, and that'll help you also to build your wealth.
So, l'autre bagay que nous capable faire, c'est pour un cours de finance, pour un cours côté que on apprendre qui gens pour nous faire investir, qui gens pour nous acheter stock, bagay comme ça, ou bien nous capable ouvrir un account dans un brokerage firm, au côté capable de nous pour nous comprendre qui gens pour nous acheter stock, bagay comme ça yo. Gen un paquet de gens pour nous capable faire ça.
And if you're looking for resources, you could, there's always the Wiley Company has different books on, it's called the For Dummies series, but it's definitely not, that's just the name, right? There is a book called Stock Investing for Dummies, which gives you phenomenal background on stock investing. There's a book on gold and silver investing. You start there. They're books that are fun, they're funny, they simplify a very complex topic, and you're able to, just easily pick them up on Amazon or your local bookstore. So that's a suggestion too.
gen live na Amazon, gen yon company ki Wiley ki gen live, gen yon ki rele stock for dummies, se pa ke ou pa intelligent, mais li mette ba yo très basic au niveau que tout moun capable apprendre. Donc gen paquet livre pour nous kab li pour aider nous apprendre qui jan pour nous économiser l'argent nous. So Francis, can I ask you a question on this Bitcoin? Do you know a little bit about that? Because that's been kind of the rage the last few the last few months. So can you speak on that a little bit, or if it's not, that's okay.
I will. I do want to say this, that Bitcoin still is very speculative. So to invest in Bitcoin is really a speculative play. We've seen Bitcoin stock go up significantly and then come right back down. So that is the only thing I'll say about Bitcoin, which is that it's speculative. Not so much investing, but speculating.
Okay, so demande de Bitcoin si gen moun ki te gen question de sa, li di ke li poko an bagay ki très solide, men moun ap mette l'argent la dan et puis te gen quelques jours, quelques mois que l'argent te monte bien haut et puis li vin descend. So c'est pas un bagay qui ferme kounya.
Okay. And I put in the chat the name of the book that I was mentioning before, which I think is a very solid start.
Okay, et si nou wè nan chat la, gen un livre ki The Stock Investing for Dummies by Paul Mlajenovic. I probably pronounced it wrong, but nou ka achete livre sa pou nou ka apprendre plus de ki jan pou nou investi l'argent. And thank you, Durley.
Yeah.
For a resource, thank you.
Oh, good. Also, you want to make sure that you can do a sample portfolio, even if it's not, if you want to see how your stock picking would do, you can do a sample portfolio on paper, and see, start to get used to it. And then once you open that brokerage account, you can buy one share of stock and start there. And then that gets really exciting, and you start to build your portfolio.
So ou kapab gen portfolio pa ou kapab komanse sou papier, ekri sa ou bezwen, et puis même si ou gen oti l'argent, ou kapab achete un stock seulement, mais après un temps, wap wè que valeur stock la ap monte, et puis ça ap fè ou kontan, fase wap économiser l'argent.
And something else I want to say too is that many of the youth that are in the group, or just getting professionals just getting started, you have, or all of us actually, we all have hobbies, we all have interests. You can turn that hobby and that interest into a money-making venture. We all have talents, whether it be tutoring or making jewelry or knitting or a new language. There are people that want that skill, and you can serve other people while getting more income as well. So that's a wonderful way to build your wealth.
So en l'autre façon pour ou capable gain plus l'argent pour c'est si ou gen un talent que ou gen, si ou ka fè manger, si ou ka fè broderie, si ou ka tutor ti moun, n'importe ça li ka tourner en bagay que li gen deux buts. Wap aider moun, et pour même wap aider que wap économiser l'argent à la même fois. I've heard people say turn your passion into a paycheck.
That's right.
So yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah, and you can do that on your spare time.
Mm-hmm.
There's you can what are you good at? What can you sell? What products or services can you offer? There's even companies that provide money for referrals. Like, there's lots of companies do that. You can sell your services online via Fiverr. There's lots of other ways. So.
Yeah, gon paquet façon pour un bagay que ou fait bien, pour tourner en façon pour économiser l'argent. Yes.
Very good. I don't think we have any other questions, right?
Nope, no questions. No more questions. Thank you so much, Miss Fran Correa. It was great spending time with you and learning a whole lot. I hope that the folks in the audience got a lot of information as well. Moi, dis merci à Madame Fran Correa pour aider nous après-midi pour ba nous information. And this month, June, with College Cafe and NAAHP, we're talking financial literacy. So check back. We have more information coming for you, and we look forward to seeing you another time. So thank you again, and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hello, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome. This is Dr. Ketsia Alert Sadler from College Cafe, welcoming you to College Planning with NAAHP. It's a wonderful spring afternoon. Hope you all are doing okay. Before I start, I want to thank the NAAHP organization for giving me this opportunity to share my information with you all. We also want to thank a couple other partners. We have Chocarella and also Book It Right Accountancy. Thank you so much for helping us get the information out to our people about college planning, college financial aid, and all related information. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs. Non, moi, c'est Dr. Ketsia Sadler, fondatrice de College Café. Moi, bien content pour avec nous après-midi. Et moi, dis merci à NAAHP qui va m'opportunité pour me partager information avec nous. Nous dis merci aussi à Chocarella et Book It Right Accountancy pour aider aussi. So today I'm very excited to have part 2 of our financial month series. And so my guest this afternoon is Mr. David Carlor, who has provided financial guidance and advice for 15 plus years in varying capacities for clients of 5 of the largest institutions in the world. He's originally from Brooklyn. Yay, all you Brooklynites out there. And he's currently a financial advisor at Northwest Mutual. And he works with families to create, implement, and monitor customized financial plans to achieve financial goals to include retirement planning, college planning, and investment management. Also long-term care and insurance planning. When he's not in the office, he's speaking to community groups. He loves to cheer for the Giants. Okay, I'm not a Giants fan, but that's okay. And he enjoys outdoor activities with his family. Welcome, Mr. Carlor. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure to be here with all of you. Let's have
Great.
some fun over this next hour.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. So let's start with some of the basics. You know, when I talk to my guests, I always want to ask them, so tell me about your academic trajectory. How did you end up becoming a financial advisor? Is that what you wanted to do since you were a little boy growing up in Brooklyn hanging out on Flatbush, or did it happen when you got to college and realized, whatever. Tell me about it. How'd you end up here?
You know, my older brother went to Holy Cross College in Massachusetts, and he was an economics major. And, I was always good in math. So economics, I thought I was going to just follow his footstep, go the economics route. But then I realized there was more of a social science than I thought. So I wanted something was a little more number crunching, and investments and all that stuff always appealed to me, right? Growing up in Brooklyn. You take the train into Manhattan, you see the guys on Wall Street, the ladies on Wall Street with their briefcases and the suits. And I'm like, these people are speaking a foreign language to me. My family didn't, we didn't come from that world. We didn't understand it. So something was always in me, pushing me to learn more about, finance. So I went to, I'm going to skip some steps, but I went to school, Jack Welch College of Business in Connecticut, Sacred Heart University. And I majored in finance, and even in majoring in finance, it wasn't about investments. It was just understanding numbers and balance sheets. I found my way to GE Capital, right? One of the, at the time, top 5 companies in the world. And then from there, I just went into personal wealth management, right? I was at GE handling small businesses and mid-sized businesses and their loan transactions. And then I just took it the next step and said, You know, when it's the company's money, people don't care too much. When it's your own money, there's a little more emotional attachment. So then I started helping executives with their personal finance. And then from there, I just got deeper and deeper into this investment and this wealth management field. And that's where I stayed. And that's what, I love it. You're helping people with their assets and their future and their family. So it's a beautiful thing, beautiful thing.
That's very important. I think a lot of times we're not realizing that. I know my older son, he's at a point at the age of 29 where he knows so much more and is so much more ahead at that point in his life than I was at 29 years old. So there's so much more information that is available. So I'm really thankful today that you are here to share that information with us. So at this time, I'm gonna let you get on and share with the people.
Okay. So let's make sure technology works out nicely. Oh, so there's my presentation. All right. How do I get this going here? Can you see the screen? The screen's not moving. Okay. I hope you can see it and everything's working out. Okay, so today we're going to talk about college planning and college planning, right? Funding college costs amidst competing priorities. This is very important because, at the time most of our kids are going to go to college, that's not going to be the only financial priority in our lives, right? Maybe we're at the middle or the end of paying off a home, right? We're at the peak years of shoring up our own retirement plan and things like that. And so it's hard to talk college planning outside of the framework of holistic, comprehensive financial planning. So today we're going to talk about college planning, but I just want you to first understand where it sits in the big picture, right? So here's the pyramid, right? When we talk of financial planning, there's three broad phases or three categories of holistic financial planning that equate to financial security. Phase one of financial planning is risk management. Risk management, that's where we talk of how do we protect ourselves against all the things that can go wrong. Life insurance, disability insurance, long-term care insurance, all these different types of insurance plans. Cash management, making sure you have the right amount of emergency funds or cash reserves. That's all risk management, phase one. Phase two, that's the attractive thing that everyone likes to talk about, wealth accumulation. That's your investment strategy. That's your 401ks, your IRAs, or your 403bs, your investment accounts. Maybe it's real estate, anything you're doing to accumulate wealth and accumulate assets. And then phase three, which we'll get into some of this today, is the wealth preservation and distribution phase, right? How am I tapping into those different buckets as efficiently as possible, right? And if you address all these areas, you should have, you should feel comfortable as far as your planning is going towards financial security, risk management, wealth accumulation, preservation, and distribution. So in that accumulation bucket, that's all your different types of investments, including college planning, right? But we want to make sure we're not just talking about college planning and ignoring everything else, right? Step one, when we talk about college planning now, right? So after we understand the whole framework of financial planning, when we talk about college planning, step one, before we make a move, we need to come up with a plan or a philosophy, right? Because everyone's plan is going to be different. So a customized plan should mesh to what you want to see happen. So the plan for family A may be different from family B's college plan. So don't listen to your neighbor unless you have the same problems and the same assets as your neighbor, right? So when I say step one is plan, will you send your child to community college first, right? We know what the cost of 4-year school is, right? And where it's been trending and what the trajectory has looked like. Right. So some folks decide, listen, the first 2 years where they're just taking, general courses, not even towards their major. A lot of families in the past 5-10 years have decided, well, for years 1 and 2, I'm going to send my child to a community college, low cost. You're not missing any of the meat and potatoes of your major, right? If you're a bio major or a finance major, those big courses are coming junior and senior year. So some families are saying, for the first 2 years, we're going to do community college. And now we only have to worry about paying for 2 years, right? So that's one strategy, right? Or some people say, I'm only going to pay for half of my child's tuition. I want them to have some skin in the game. Maybe if you cover all the costs and money's not an issue, maybe your child is, repeating some courses. Maybe a 4-year degree is taking them 5 or 6 years. So some folks want to give their child some skin in the game. I'm going to pay for half or plan to pay for half. They can take out student loans for the other half, right? Is there, maybe you have aspirations for your child, or you've noticed your child is brilliant, academic scholarships. You're banking on, some sort of athletic or academic scholarships. Start formulating all these ideas early, because then we'll figure out how do we close the gap, right? So step one before we do anything is have a vision for what you want that college experience. Have a vision for what you want that to look like, right? So once we have that vision, we want to incorporate that into the overall planning, right? And like I mentioned a second ago, college planning doesn't take place by itself. It's usually alongside retirement planning. So it's pretty hard to have that singular focus on a college plan, and I'm just going to focus on college planning and ignore my retirement and all that good stuff. I always say put your mask on first, right? Most folks don't have enough to retire on. So the chances of most of us saying we're going to pay for, a $50,000 a year school for 4 years, $200,000, the chances of us having all 200 of that set aside just for college is very slim. So there's finite dollars. So we want to make sure what we do have and the tools we do have, there's going to be some flexibility in it. There's some optionality. Maybe, there's certain products that are geared or tailored to college planning, but some of it may be restrictive. So we want to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, right? We're going to talk about the 529 plan, right? The educational savings accounts, 529s versus Coverdell's or UTMA's, right? But these are some other tools people use. You see here, I say retirement funds. There's opportunities and ways to use some retirement funds towards college expenses, right? Some folks use, if they have assets like their home equity is another popular way to pay for college, right? When you talk about borrowing from your home's equity may be one of the cheapest ways to borrow towards your college costs for your children, right? Life insurance cash values, right? There's responsible ways to attack this, where you're preparing an insurance plan that has some cash accumulating tax deferred inside of the policy. That may be a source of cash for college that makes sense, right? And like I mentioned earlier, the qualified educational savings account. So that's your 529s or Coverdell's, etc. Right? So again, it's not just one product or a singular college planning focus. You have other levers to pull. So depending on your personal situation, that's how you'll determine what your mix of funds look like. Maybe 25% is coming from the educational savings accounts. Some is coming from my home equity, some's coming from life insurance. So we're going to get into the product definitions and specifics coming up next. So the most popular tool when we talk of college planning is the 529 plan. It's popular for a few reasons. So we'll talk about these bullets high level, and then we'll drill down, right? Tax deferred growth. That's very important. Tax deferred growth. So if we're not talking college planning, let's talk about what investment growth looks like. Generally speaking, if you open up a non-qualified retail generic investment account, right? Let's say I invest $10 into an account. The account grows to $15 in performance and returns, right? So that's $5 of gains. I need to pay taxes on the $5 that I made, right? So I invested 10. The account grew to $15, so I made $5. I need to pay, what's called capital gains taxes on that $5 of growth. So let's say I pay $1 in taxes, right? Tax deferred growth is much different from that. You invest your $10, it grows to 15. Instead of paying taxes, you defer paying taxes to a later date. So now your 15 gets to compound the next year, right? We always talk about understanding compound interest. That's a very important tactic or conversation when it comes to college planning, right? Because we're looking for all the ways to compound as fast as possible to have as much money as possible set aside for school, right? So tax deferred growth in the 529 plan is crucial, right? Some of the limitations though, right? It has to be used for higher education, right? Even though there's a caveat, as of late, you can use up to $10,000 towards K through 12 as of 2017. But prior to 2017, you have this tax deferred growth only if you use the funds for higher education. Can you pull it out tax free and use towards your college costs, right? Very important. So if you start a 529 for little Johnny or little Mary, Johnny or Mary says they don't want to go to school anymore. Those funds that you did have, some tax deferred growth in, you now have to pay taxes on those funds because you're no longer using it for the intended purpose, right? The federal government tried to put this together to make it easy for you to save for college, right? So again, so assuming you're using it for higher education, there's some good tax benefits, right? Tax deductions, the funds you're contributing to the 529 plan, you may be able to deduct it depending on your state. And you're going to meet with your tax advisor or your accountant every year, and they'll give you some tax advice. I'm not a tax accountant, right? But this 529 plan, you're going to get tax deductions on it in the years you're contributing to it. So not only are you getting to delay paying taxes on it, if you use it for higher education, you don't pay taxes at all on that growth, but then also the funds you put in may be tax deductible, right? So there's a lot of friendly, benefits that come with utilizing this 529 savings account. Also, let's say you have two kids. Johnny, your oldest, doesn't want to go to college, right? Johnny's a smart kid. He figures he knows everything. Well, you can change beneficiaries. So you're not like, oh man, I put all this money for little Johnny. He doesn't want to go to school. Maybe his younger sister, Mary, wants to go to school and she wants to keep going. You can change the beneficiaries and maintain all the tax benefits we just spoke about, right? So you don't lose it if you have other folks who want to go to school, right? Also, with the 529, it's usually best if owned by your parent versus a third party like a grandparent. And the reason for that is if you're planning on, right, like we mentioned earlier, most people will not be able to pay, save up the whole $200,000 by themselves in one shot, right? So if you have, a scenario where a grandparent takes out a 529, it's looked at. So if you're looking for financial aid because you couldn't save the whole 200 by yourself, and financial aid is going to be a piece of the picture, having the 529 in a grandparent's name as the owner and your child as the beneficiary, it could come across as income for the child, not for the parent. When the federal government is determining, financial, contributions or the family's expected financial contribution and how much financial aid they need, they're looking at things like the assets that the child has. So a 529 that the grandparent owns for the benefit of the child is looked at as the grandparent is giving income to the child directly. A child having income is much worse from a financial aid perspective than a parent having income, because like we've talked about earlier, a parent has competing needs, so they won't count as much of the parent's income towards the expected family contributions as they will a child having direct income from the grandparents, right? I know it's wordy, kind of confusing. We'll talk one-on-one if someone has questions, but that's a very important point. It's best if it's owned by the parents because it's not looked at as an asset or income for the child. It's looked at as an asset of the parent. But if it's owned by a third party, like a grandparent, they're the owner of that 529. If they actually open the account, it's not an asset of the kids, but it's now direct income to the children, to the child who will be using that 529. Like again, we can talk further, a little bit about that, but very important. And at last, the other feature of the 529 plan, the annual contribution per beneficiary is $15,000. That's the highest of all the college planning options, right? We'll talk about some of the other products, but this is good if, if you think, you have some assets and you want to put some stuff away and save on taxes, having the ceiling at 15,000 is much better than, what we'll look at in the next college plan called the Coverdell, where the ceiling's only 2,000, right? And again, 529. So the major takeaway with the 529, tax deferred growth, right? Tax advantages. You can stuff money into the account, possibly tax deductible. They can pull it out tax free if they're using it for higher education. And in those interim years, the account is compounding on a tax deferred basis. So you're not paying taxes every year like a non-qualified investment account as you go, right? You're not paying some, you're not growing, then paying, growing, then paying. You're just growing, growing, growing. Tax deferred growth. That's the concept you should take away from the 529 if you're using it for college. If you do not use it for college and you will not change beneficiaries or give it to a sibling or another cousin or something like that, not only will you have to pay taxes on the 529, you may also have to pay the 10% penalty, right? There's some exceptions to the rule, of course, right? If your child gets a scholarship, they may waive the penalty, but you will still pay the taxes, right? So again, everything we spoke about was just the 529 plan, right? Coming up next is the Coverdell Educational Savings Account, right? Coverdell, like I mentioned a second ago, there's a $2,000 annual contribution limit. So you cannot put more than $2,000 in it per child per year, right? Also, you cannot take tax deductions on your contributions like in the 529. One of the benefits of the Coverdell versus the 529 years ago was you could use it for K through 12. So it wasn't just for college, but if you're, if you're going through public school, if your child's using public school, throughout, then obviously you'd use the funds for college. But if you had some good accumulation from age 1 to 13 and you wanted to pay for a nice high school, you could use the funds in a Coverdell towards high school, right? So it had some flexibility. That was probably one of the major comparative points versus the 529 in the Coverdell, is you can use it for more, for more than just higher ed or just college, right? The Coverdell says you have to use all the funds in that account by age 30, by the beneficiary's 30th birthday. So maybe the child's going to get their master's and their PhD, or do all that stuff before age 30, all right? You can also transfer it to another family member, right, of the original beneficiary. So if, again, little Johnny doesn't want to go to school, the Coverdell says you could move it to another family member. The Coverdell also had maximum income limits in order for you to be able to contribute. So if you were making more than $110,000 a year as a single individual, or if a married couple was making more than $220,000, they could not use the Coverdell, right? So it's generally for those who make less than $110,000 or $220,000, all right? But again, the flexibility was the key here. You could use it for K through 12 as well. All right. And then this is something, pretty popular. A lot of people are familiar with UGMA or UTMA, Uniform Gifts for Minors, or Uniform Transfer for Minors. The UGMA, right? When you go to your bank and you say, I want to open an account for my child, this is a term that they throw around pretty often. Open an UGMA account, open an UTMA account. The thing with the UGMA is it's irrevocable in nature, meaning once your child hits the age of majority, whether it's 18 or 21 years old, the child owns the assets in that account. They can do anything they want with it. The parents no longer control it when the child is of age, right? So can you imagine, accumulating a significant amount of assets in an UGMA, and the child says they want to do something different and you have no say over it. I know at 18, we think we're grown, but I don't know if too many people want to turn over power to their kids completely at age 18 over a heavy, financial asset. So that's the UGMA. It's kind of irrevocable once the child hits age 18 or 21, depending on your state. Another feature of the UGMA, the parent controls the asset, obviously, before the age of majority, right? So it's kind of a good thing because you can take advantage of the child's tax rate. So I can move funds into an UGMA account, invest it, have it grow, and instead of paying at my higher tax rate because I make more money than my child, I can pay at the child's lower tax rate. So that's a nice little feature there because, again, it's the child's asset. It's not yours anymore, right? So, and most importantly, the UGMA one of the drawbacks, though, when it comes to college planning, because the asset is owned by the child, so it has greater impact on financial aid as opposed to an asset owned by the parents, right? Because again, and that's an important point, so I just want to double back on it again. If the parents have, let's just say, $100,000 in assets, total assets, not just for college, in general, the understanding is they have other things they have to pay for. If a child has $100,000, a child doesn't have too many things, theoretically, that they need to be responsible for other than their own education. So that's why assets owned by the child hurt when it comes to financial aid a lot more than assets owned by the parent. Financial aid is not going to expect as large of a portion of contribution to come from the parents' $100,000 as much as they would if a kid had $100,000. They're saying you need to turn over almost all of it or half of it, because that should be priority 1, 2, and 3 for a kid, right? Their education. So I hope that makes sense. So again, 529 is the most popular tool, but again, it's not the only tool. It's somewhat restrictive in that you have to use it for education, right? And if you don't, you're going to pay taxes and you're going to pay the 10% penalty. That's the downside, right? But here's some other funding options, because when we talk about college planning, like I mentioned when we started, you can't talk about this in a vacuum, right? We have to consider financial college planning within the framework of your whole financial plan, right? So a lot of people piece it together from different areas, right? Home equity, for example. I mentioned it's one of the cheapest places if you're borrowing money to borrow from your own home, right? So if, let's say, you have a home worth, $500,000, right? If you're in some nice county, right? Your home is worth $500,000. You owe, let's say, $200,000. That's, about $300,000 in equity, right? Some banks will give you a card with 300, let's say 90% of that $300,000 in equity. Literally a credit card for, 300 grand, and you're going to pay 2% interest rate on it, on just the portion you use, not the whole 300, right? Again, college loans, student loans, you're borrowing at 6, 7, sometimes double-digit interest rates. A home equity loan, you're going to pay, 2, 3. Don't quote me on rates. Rates change every day, but you're paying low single digits on home equity loans. And in some cases, you don't have to pay back at all, right? Because if you were to sell that house, you would just wipe out the loan and take whatever's, remaining, right? And you move on, right? So you probably never even have to pay that back because it got washed away inside the home equity, inside of a real estate transaction. Or your home appreciated in value from 500 to 600. So when you sold the house, you didn't even feel it, right? You walked away with your equity after you paid off or whatever you owed the bank. And obviously whatever, you borrowed for the loan, you pay that back as well. But again, there's places you can just almost hide the tuition. We talked about life insurance cash value, right? This is important as well, because if you're planning for college, right, if something was to happen to the major breadwinner in the family and they pass away, you want to make sure if something happens to you, college is paid for. So some people look at life insurance. If I die, the college will be covered. But while I'm alive, that life insurance policy is going to help me cover college as well, because I'm going to use the cash value in that whole life insurance that I can tap into on a tax-friendly basis to cover college costs, right? Again, it's just another tool. So everyone's going to be different, right? You may have a need for life insurance in other areas. There's other needs you have that led to you purchasing life insurance. Let's talk about how we can leverage it to pay for school, right? Home equity, same thing. How can we leverage it? Student loans, right? Let's say you just can't save enough, right? We're living check to check, or, we have, again, competing priorities. I always say to parents, put your mask on first. If you can't pay for college, you just can't pay for college. Or if you can't pay for all of it, it is what it is, right? You're not going to rob Peter to pay Paul, or you don't then forget your retirement to go pay for the college. No, there's student loans. There's ways to borrow responsibly, right? We talked about some of those other things, going to a community school or community college for years 1 and 2. So now the gap is, the need is a little smaller, right? Public, federal loans are a little nicer and friendlier than private loans when it comes to the interest rate and things like that. So all loans are not the same. All loans are not bad, but let's be responsible and look into some of them, right? There's grants, there's scholarships, there's other things to do. Retirement accounts, there's some benefits to borrowing from your IRA to paying for higher ed costs, right? There's some tax benefits there. So that's something to consider as well. So the conversation, I'm a financial advisor. When I'm sitting with families, we don't just dive into the college planning. We look at their holistic plan. And then after looking at the big picture, 30,000, macro view, 30,000 feet high view, once we have everything, then we can look at what's the best way to attack the college planning piece of this. What's the best way to attack the retirement planning piece of this, right? And we go from there. So you don't start in the weeds of college planning, right? Now, again, there's plenty of people out there who are transactional. Hey, you want to open a 529? Sure, boom, go. Without looking at the picture and doing having that consultative approach. But I would caution against that. I always say, let's look at everything first. Let's look at the big picture. Then we can talk about how do we address college planning without sabotaging some of the other stuff. All right. So I think we touched on a lot there. Obviously, I'm always willing to talk in detail about, some of these products and some of these plans. But I think high level is just, let's understand compounding. Let's understand tax deferred growth. I think that's the name of the game. How fast can I build up assets to put towards, my child's college education, right? And I think if we're looking holistic and comprehensive and we're looking at complementary planning, you can't go wrong, right? But it starts with figuring out your assets. Before you do any planning, we look at budget, right? On day one, the first time I'm meeting with the family, we need to understand what's coming in, what's going out, right? If $10,000 a month is coming home between husband and wife, they're spending $7,000 a month, right? So now there's $3,000 surplus, right? Let's carve out, okay, maybe half of that 3,000 should go to, investments like my 529s or some college planning, my Roth, my Roth IRA, if that's an option, or my traditional IRA, whatever it is, half of that should go towards that, right? So now we have a number. We're not just picking numbers out the sky. I know a lot of people do planning and it's like, yeah, I'll put $50 whenever I get a chance into the child's account, 100 here. Let's automate this. Let's figure out the plan, have a number, and be consistent and disciplined and go with it, right? So using that same example, $10,000 is coming home every month. We're spending $7,000. There's a $3,000 surplus. Maybe we are going to invest $1,500 of that. $300 a month of that is going to, college planning, right? There's still some other funds to do the other things we need to do, right? So you're not going bankrupt trying to pay for college, right? And again, it's not, you don't have to be bringing home 10. If 5,000 a month is coming home and we're spending 4, so now there's $1,000 surplus, maybe 500 a month we should be investing. So from that 500, maybe $100 is going into that 529 or that educational account. And we still have other assets to put towards our life insurance policies or our investment stuff or whatever it is. And if you're just disciplined, you're going to turn around 5 years later, 10 years later, looking in the rearview mirror, you're going to have a nice sizable piece of cash there that when you splice it, when you couple it with the other things, scholarships, maybe the 2-year things, some student loans, whatever it is, when you add it to the big picture, you close that gap and college looks more attainable than you thought it would be. So the key is, like I said, just have a plan. How do you want this to look? Then look at your budget. Be honest about this, right? If you don't, if you don't have that much of a surplus, we have to pull some other levers, right? And so have a plan. What do you want college to look like? Assess your budget, and then we go from there, right? And just have a plan. That's the most important piece of this. Don't wing it. Don't put $50 here. Don't put 20 here. Don't do 100 here. I mean, you can do that above and beyond what you're doing, but have a baseline. And that's the name of the game. Plan, plan, plan. I said that was step 1, but I can't overstate it enough. Have a plan. It's college. That's why we call it college planning, right? Don't start at 8 when the child is 17 years old or 16 years old. So let's start thinking about this early. Where do you want this to come from? The funds, that is. All right. And with that, I think we touched on the good stuff. And I'd love to take some questions and things like that from the family.
Thank you so much, David, for your information. So there's a first question that's right on the screen there. can one open a 529 college savings plan for your niece, nephew, godchild, etc., under the parent's name to avoid it being considered the child's income?
Oh, absolutely. So from a legality standpoint, one can open a 529 fund, right? But now, if we're trying to circumvent that, that piece where I said it's important to have it in the parent's name versus a third party, anyone can contribute to someone else's 529. So it's probably better that let the parent open it. Some people throw birthday parties and they give out the 529 account information. So instead of gifts or toys, they say everyone contribute to this 529 for my child. So the parent still owns it, but other people are contributing to the 529. And so there's definitely, anyone can open it, but it's probably better to have it under the parent's name, and then everyone can contribute to it. And because it's restricted to higher ed, it's not like they can take that money and go blow it and go on vacation with money that you gifted that was supposed to go towards college.
Okay.
But good question.
That was a very good point. Thank you. And I'm just going to backtrack on some of the things you were saying before, as far as the rich management, things like that. First of all, I had never heard of a Coverdell ESA.
No.
Today is the first time I've heard of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that a lot of people will probably say, I've never heard of it either. And there may be so many of us who fall into that salary bracket who could have probably been using that.
Absolutely.
So again, like you said, the planning is not just for parents, for college. It's just like your whole life. There's information you have to constantly reassess and probably talk to whoever your financial planner is. And I think one of the things people may not realize is they probably think you need to have a whole lot of money, but your plan is customizable to you and your family situation. So like you said before, whatever your surplus is at the end of the month or your paycheck, whatever, that's what you work with, whatever's left over. But that goes back also to your point of a budget. Most people don't have a budget.
Yeah.
Like I said last week, my older son, who is 29, his philosophy is that every dollar in his bank account has a job.
Nice.
He does not shop. He's not one of those who, like his mother, unfortunately, who walks into the grocery store and you see, oh, I should buy that because it's all on sale. That's not him. So I think we have to get back to the budgeting. What's coming into your house? What are you spending? What can you decrease? Like, your cable bill. Now we've got the different things like, Netflix. So you don't need a $200 cable bill if you already got those. So different ways of budgeting. So you'll see how much you have left over to invest into that. Also the UTMAs, I had those accounts for my boys too. I think there was the UGMA maybe when they were little. And then when they got older, those became their funds. They know that it would be at a lower tax rate for the children. And then when you're talking about the home equity, yes, my dad's house, I know that I was the only one of the four. There's 7 of us kids, the four girls. I'm the only one who went to a private college. They always say I'm kind of bougie and the spoiled one because they all went to state colleges. I'm like, well, that was your choice, So, but anyway, so my dad, I remember him having to refinance the house. I think finally the house is going to be paid off in the next year or two. But again, that refinancing piece to help pay education, was part of it. So, and then also the tax deferred growth piece. I think a lot of times people don't realize that, the more money you take out of your paycheck on the top, that kind of helps to decrease what you're taxed on. And also you have the tax deferred growth, the benefits of that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No,
so a lot.
I was just going to say a lot of people just don't have that a lot of people I meet with, they think they don't make enough at first. I don't make enough of this. And that's couldn't be further from the truth, right? No matter what your income bracket is. I would say the less you make, the more important a plan is, right? The more important financial planning is. So I think we need to, speak to that fear and get rid of that fear for certain communities that are underrepresented. Maybe they don't see it enough, where they don't even want to talk about this because they think I can't afford this. This is out of my league. And that's the opposite. That couldn't be further from the truth. So I think that's an important point you make.
And I think the piece of people talk about it lately, that those are some courses that probably needs to be part of the even elementary school talking about finances and budgeting. So when you get to high school, you know how to plan and budget. And you're thinking about, okay, when I get, even with your first job, like I didn't know that. Someone was telling me that you could hire your child, whatever company you have at home, hire them, and you can start your own Roth IRA, and you're not even in high school or even in college yet. You can already start putting money away for your financial future towards your retirement. Who knew that?
Compounding. Think about that compounding. If you the earlier you start, the less you need to commit. You know, there's so many calculators online. You can go online. You know, I use like sometimes bankrate.com. You just go to investment calculator. Just look at the compounding effect. If you put $100 a month into an account for 30 years at age 20, by the time you're 50, see what that is. If you started that at age 35, it would require a lot more dollars. So sometimes it's better to start smaller than to wait for when I make more money, I'll do that. No, you know, the key is consistency. It's not being so much smarter than everyone else or in the market or having some secret stocks or whatever. Whatever your plan is, just be consistent. So if it's $200 a month, that's all your budget can allow, and you just commit to $200 a month. When you look back in 5 years, that's 60 months. Put it in the calculator. You'll see a nice number there, right? And the muscle memory there, the behavior is there. And then it gets like a game. It gets addictive. You see your account growing and growing. You won't want to touch it. You know, so have fun with it. But the key is discipline. There's no get rich quick schemes. I always say you got to take the stairs. There's no elevator to success or to wealth, to anything. You got to take the steps. And we sometimes fall victim because we've been mistreated historically for hundreds of years. So we fall victim to, we need something now. What's the hottest tip out there? What stock is hot, David? Listen, there's no hot stock. You got to do some financial planning. That's what's hot, you know, because that's what people are doing. That's what the ultra high net worth people are doing. That's what everyone should be doing. Discipline, planning, and that's really it. There's no secret. There's no shortcut.
Right, and that's the thing, and the conversations have to start with our children when they're young. I have a friend whose daughter actually started a baking business, and she started, investing her money already. She's just turned 16. She's been baking, for probably the last year or two. So she's already doing that. And my husband has had conversations with coworkers who said, yeah, since we were little, our parents were talking to us about financing and planning and things like that. So these kids already, that's already part of their vocabulary. And with College Cafe, your first slide is definitely what we do. I talk to parents about, okay, what is the academic pathway your child is going to take? Are they an athlete? Are they more academic? Now, in the time of COVID, especially last year when your child's going to college, if the school's going to be remote, start off at your local community college. Get those 2-year general requirements out of the way at a cheaper price, and then, pay later on. Different ways, like you said, but the plan always has to be continually revised because things shift. Your child might decide they want to change their major or something. So now we have to look at that, or maybe they want to transfer to a different school. We have to reevaluate and see, okay, well, what is our funding looking like? So very, very important tips that people have.
The danger out there too, and you make a very important point, and that's why it made me think about it. Because sometimes when the parents don't have certain information, they leave it to the kids, and then that can be, So I was 18-year-old at one point, right? We all were young at one point, and you think you know everything, right? You think you know what you want. If I could do it today, I don't know if I would have chosen a school that was over $50,000 a year, right, in Connecticut to go to college. But if someone would have told me no, it's expensive, I don't care. I didn't care at the time. So I think, but if our parents have that information, they can with confidence tell us or guide us, into a better situation. So I think just having that information can help prevent leaving this to kids. Kids would pick anything, they don't care about costs, right? So that 2-year option may not sound attractive to a lot of kids. They want to go to the dorms with their friends and party the money away. So it's, I think if we bring them into the planning process, bring them into this conversation and let them see the numbers, I think, you'd be surprised. They'll listen a little better and it'll be a better process, I think, and a better outcome for everyone. But we're in trouble today as a country when it comes to, student loan debt. The cost of college is just going to keep moving up unless, policy steps in. So it needs to be, you need to be strategic about how we do this, because it could, it could potentially lead you somewhere you don't want to be.
Exactly. I agree. That's what I usually tell the families, because you have to start having that conversation. And I'm always targeting my parents as my focus, because they ultimately pay the bill. We want to please our kids, we want to send them off to the best schools, but you really don't have that money. You don't have, and some of the schools are not giving out funding. The school costs 50,000, they give your child a package worth 15. So you got to figure out 35.
Yeah.
And parents have told me they're ready to take out that $35,000 year loan. I'm like, but that's the first year. There's 2 more years. There's 3 more years. And then you have to be careful looking at schools, because sometimes they'll tell you that they have 60% of students graduating 6 years. No, we're not doing college 6 years. So there's a lot of fine print you have to look at. And they're not thinking. So that planning is so important. Parents have to have skin in the game, like you said before. You cannot have your kids doing that by themselves, looking at college. Absolutely not. You can't.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. So, but yeah, and like I said before, when I was applying to college back in, you're talking the late 80s, 85, and I went to school in the late 80s, it was very different. You had one FAFSA form, that was it. But college didn't cost as much. Yeah. I remember looking, I'm a pack rat, so I have a lot of stuff. And I found a paper with my college too. It was $12,000. My current alma mater now is probably like $52,000 tuition. And that's tuition. That's not even room and board.
Yeah.
So now there's a whole lot more forms. So parents have to be involved. And you can plan for college and plan for your retirement. So in my case, like I said, didn't have all the information. So hubby and I are playing catch up, because, we did for the kids. Now we got to focus, on us.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully people will contact you and you can help them get their, financial framework together. And the thing is, everyone, we're giving you information because you need to be an educated consumer. There's certain information that Mr. Carlo gave this afternoon, that you need to take back and ask your financial person about them. There's certain piece of information that you should have for your own financial well-being. So, and one thing is to not know, but now that you know, you do better. Now you know what questions to ask to lead you the right way that you need to go, so your child can go to the school they want to attend. You can, have your house and retire and have, mimosas on the Riviera or whatever it is you want to do. But we're trying to do both, retire and make sure our kids go to the college of their choice so they can be productive adults.
Try not to be transactional, right? And I always say it costs nothing to have conversations. So no one should charge you for any of this information I just provided, right? The first meeting or second time you're meeting a financial planner or an advisor, you shouldn't be worried about moving money around already. First of all, what is your financial person's, find out what's their philosophy, right? Do you even like this person? Because not every advisor is going to be a quote unquote planner. Some of them are just trying to make a sale. They're selling a product. First day you meet them, they have a product for you without knowing your situation. So really think about it, right? Speak with as many financial advisors as you have to until you feel comfortable. Don't feel shy about saying, we can come back. I'll come back to you, or I'll call you back later, right? Don't feel that pressure. A lot of times we don't know how to, we don't understand what the expectations are, or we feel, am I doing this wrong? If you don't feel comfortable, you shouldn't be moving forward, right? And you shouldn't be moving money around until you feel totally comfortable. So that's why I use financial planning, because now we have an actual PDF document, right? Costs nothing to put together, that can rationalize every recommendation that's made to my clients. So they all know why we're doing what we're doing. So when we review every 6 to 9 months, we have something to hold ourselves accountable to. Right? It's not just, you will have this much in this account. So we're talking about dollars and dates with specificity, right? So planning is about taking away the guesswork. This is really about, you can only retire once. You can only plan for college once per child, at least, right? So you don't want to find out you did it wrong 20 years later. So that's why the plan is crucial, and it's something we want to always, you mentioned it earlier, plans change, right? That's why we have to review every 6 to 9 months. Nothing's so disturbing when I meet with a client and they say, you know, "Oh, I haven't spoken to my guy in 3 years." How is that your advisor if you're not speaking to him, right? Your fiduciary obligation and you're never speaking to the client, right? And that happens very often. So communication is key. Clear planning and and strategizing is key. All of this is important. So, you know, I just caution people, stay away from those transactional, you know, relationships, right? You buy something and disappear kind of thing. Let's build relationships with your financial professionals, you know?
Okay, so I'm gonna try in like 2 minutes to kind of sum up in Creole if there are people who joined late. So, Monsieur Carlo ba nou un paquet information de ki jan pou nou planifier pour collège pour ti moun nou. Et à la même temps pour leur travail encore. So, ça veut dire que nous parlons de bail qui est le 529 account. Ça, c'est pour collège là. Nous parlons de 401k qui pour aider nous leur travail encore. Et puis, les bail information parce que gagner account pour ti moun nous ka ouvrir pour ti moun yo y aurait le UTMA ou bien UGMA, le ti moun moins de 18 ans ou même c'est eux même qui contrôler li. Le ti moun nan gen 18 ans, c'est ti moun nan k'ap contrôler li. So, si ti moun nan, si ou tap mette l'argent pour ti moun al nan collège, et puis ti moun nan décide que li pa al collège encore, ti moun nan k'ap fait n'importe ça vle, parce que li gen 18 ans, tout l'argent c'est pour li. Et puis, nous gen l'autre bail que nous k'ap fait tout, faut nous, si yon moun dit nous que la chita avec nous pour nous commencer planifier pour collège ou pour leur pas travailler encore, leur retired, si mon première question la demander pour l'argent, la demander pour faire investment bail comme ça, c'est pas mon pour faut gen une conversation parce que mon pas connaît qui bon l'argent a sorti, il pas connaît qui genre l'argent ou ça on fait avec l'argent. So premier meeting nous fait, c'est pour nous parler, pour connaître si moun sa k'ap aider ou. Et puis après ça, chaque 6 mois, faut nous parler encore pour nous voir si plan besoin changement. So, Monsieur Carlo, li là pour li aider nous mettre information li là pour nous parler avec lui encore. So, we're going to put Mr. Carlo's information at the end of the session so you can contact him if you don't already have a financial advisor. So, he can help you to figure out what your family's financial picture looks like. And so, Mr. Carlo, I don't think we have any more questions or any other final points you want to share with the audience.
I mean, we touched on it, but I just, you know, like I said, we can't emphasize it enough. Obviously, you want to plan, but think of taxes in everything you're doing, right? You know, investment 101 is about diversifying your assets, right? Stocks, bonds, whatever it is, real estate, cash. The next level is tax diversification, right? Tax deferred, tax free, taxable. Think of that when you're doing your planning as well, right? So there's a ton of information out there. I can always help. Obviously, everything is personalized and customized. So if anyone wants to, you know, reach out, again, it costs nothing to have a conversation. I love to have these consultations, these free consultations, and go from there. All right. So just information, seek it out. It's out there now. Information is flat. We're in the internet age. It's a beautiful thing. All right.
Thank you. Monsieur Carlo dit gen on paquet d'informations, li gen deux bases. Le wap pale première base là ou gen 401k ou gen investi ou acheter real estate bail comme ça. Et puis next phase là le commence à parler de tax deferred growth. Et puis le intérêt à compound, le interest is compounding, things like that. So but li là pour li aider nous, like comme on dit avant, si ou pas gen un monde pour parler ou mettre contacter li. Mr. Carlo is available to be contacted to help you plan out your future. Li important pour nous planifier parce que si ou pas planifier, ou a bien problème le ti moun prêt pour aller dans collège. You'll have problems if you're not planning. When your child is ready to go to college, you're not going to know what to do. So again, I want to thank Mr. David Carlo for being our guest. I want to thank the NAAHP for having this series. We're here to help you, and also thank you to our partners, Shokarela and Book It Right Accountancy. We're here to help you, and we hope you have a great evening. Thank you for joining us.
Enjoy.
My name is Ralph Destin, and I'd like to thank the National Alliance for the Advancement of Haitian Professionals and the Scholarship Committee members for awarding me the NAAHP Haitian American Leadership Award Scholarship. As a low-income student, this scholarship will prove instrumental in supporting my college education. Moreover, this scholarship is important to me because 11 years ago, I arrived to the United States from Haiti after the 2010 Haiti earthquake, and it has always been a dream for me and my family to attend college. Now, with this award and the support of Haitian Americans around me and through this organization, I will be able to pursue a journalism and political science degree at Northwestern University. I hope to inspire other young Haitian Americans to pursue journalism and to continue their education. Thank you.